A woman's strength isn't always loud. It's not in shouting, "I'm strong." It's in waking up the next morning, even after crying the whole night. It's in smiling at her children when her own heart is breaking. It's in keeping the home warm when life outside is cold. There's a saying, you never know how strong a woman is until being strong is her only choice. Every mother, every sister, every daughter, she carries pain like perfume. You can sense it, but she never lets you see it. They say strength is not measured by how loud you can roar, but by how quietly you can endure. And when we speak of strength, the kind that doesn't make noise yet shakes the world, there's no better example than a woman who carries the weight of life on her shoulders, silently, gracefully, without demanding applause. You see, a woman's strength is not always seen in grand victories or loud moments of success. Sometimes, it's hidden in the smallest corners of everyday life. It's in the mother who wakes up before everyone else, preparing breakfast, packing lunches, getting her children ready, and then heading to her own work. She may be tired, her back may ache, but her spirit doesn't complain. She just keeps going. Not because it's easy, but because love gives her the courage to move. Think of your own mother. There were days she might have been unwell. Maybe she didn't sleep the whole night. But did you ever see her give up? Rarely. She smiled, she served, she continued, because her love was stronger than her pain. That's the silent strength I'm talking about. A woman doesn't have to lift weights to show her power. Her real power is emotional. It's spiritual. It's in how she carries others even when she feels like falling herself. It's in how she holds the family together when everything feels like it's falling apart. I once met a woman after a talk, and she said to me, "Guruji, people tell me I'm strong, but I don't feel strong. I cry often." And I told her, crying doesn't make you weak. It means your heart is alive. Strength is not the absence of tears. It's the courage to wipe them and still keep going. Think about it. How many women cry silently behind closed doors, then step out with a smile because they don't want others to worry? How many carry pain in their hearts but laughter on their lips? That's not weakness. That's divine strength. The kind that even the universe bows to. Let me share a small story. There was a woman who lost her husband at a young age. She had 2 children and no financial support. She didn't know how to begin again, but she knew she had to, so she started selling homemade food. Every morning, she would wake up at 4 a.m., cook, pack, and go out to sell it in the local market. Years passed, and those children grew up, studied, and became successful. One day, her son asked her, "Amy, didn't you ever feel like giving up?" She smiled and said, "Every day. But then I'd look at your faces, and I would remember that I couldn't stop. Because if I stopped, our lives would stop." That's the strength of a woman who suffers silently but never gives up. She doesn't fight for herself alone. She fights for those she loves. Sometimes people think that a strong woman is one who argues, shouts, or rebels. No, strength is not in shouting. It's in holding yourself together when life is trying to tear you apart. It's in staying kind when others are cruel. It's in forgiving when you have every reason to be angry. Think of a teacher who goes through her own struggles at home, but walks into the classroom every day with the same smile, the same patience, the same love for her students. Think of a nurse who works night shifts, misses family dinners, and still greets every patient with compassion. Think of the grandmother who spends her days cooking and praying, carrying the wisdom of generations quietly in her heart. These are women of strength, ordinary yet extraordinary. You see, our society often celebrates visible achievements, degrees, promotions, awards. But the greatest achievements are often invisible. Who celebrates the woman who sacrifices her dreams so that her children can fulfill theirs? Who claps for the woman who holds her husband's hand through failure and helps him stand again? Who recognizes the woman who forgives, nurtures, heals, and keeps believing when everyone else has stopped? That's why I say, the spirit of a woman who suffers silently is sacred. She turns her pain into patience, her tears into tenderness, and her challenges into courage. And this quiet endurance, it's not submission, it's strength in its purest form. Every time she chooses to smile instead of complain, she is teaching the world resilience. Every time she chooses peace over anger, she is teaching compassion. Every time she chooses to rise again, she is teaching faith. And what's most beautiful? She doesn't do it for attention. She does it out of love. She does it because her heart knows that giving up is not an option. When you meet such a woman, you may not even realize what storms she has survived. She won't tell you. But if you look into her eyes, you'll see stories of nights spent worrying, of dreams postponed, of battles fought quietly, and victories that nobody saw. So the next time you see your mother, your wife, your sister, your teacher, your friend, look a little closer. That calmness, that smile, that patience, it's not because life is easy for her. It's because she has mastered the art of standing strong when everything is shaking. And if you are a woman listening to this, remember, you don't have to prove your strength to anyone. You already are the proof. Every morning you rise, every time you choose love over bitterness, every time you face another day after being broken the night before, you are showing the world what true strength looks like. Never think your silent suffering goes unnoticed. The world may not always see it, but God always does. And every time you keep going despite the pain, you are becoming the reason someone else believes they can too. You are not weak because you bend. You are strong because you never break. You are not small because you serve. You are great because you give. You are not invisible because you stay silent. You are powerful because your silence speaks volumes. That, my friends, is the spirit of a woman who never gives up. She doesn't just live life, she lifts it. She doesn't just survive storms, she teaches the world how to dance in the rain. Faith is a strange thing. You can't touch it, you can't see it, but when you have it, you can move mountains. And when a woman carries faith in her heart, no storm can drown her spirit. Faith is not about having a perfect life. It's about having the strength to keep walking even when life feels completely imperfect. You see, fear is natural. We all have fears. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. But faith is what teaches us to look fear in the eye and say, "You don't control me." A woman of faith doesn't always have all the answers, but she always has the courage to keep going, even in darkness. Let me tell you something beautiful. Faith doesn't make life easy, it makes life possible. There's a huge difference. Life will still test you, it will still throw challenges your way. But when you walk with faith, you stop seeing those challenges as punishments, you start seeing them as teachers. I once met a woman who had lost her job after 10 years of service. She came to me with tears and said, "Guruji, I've tried so hard, why is this happening to me?" I told her, maybe life is not taking something away from you. Maybe it's clearing your path for something better. She didn't understand it at that time, but she chose to trust. She took a small step of faith and started her own home baking business. It was slow at first, but today she employs 5 other women. And when I met her again years later, she said, "That day I lost my job, but what I really lost was my fear." That's what faith does. It replaces fear with freedom. Every woman who has walked through pain with her head high has been guided by faith. Think of a mother whose child is sick. She prays, she hopes, she believes. Every day, she wakes up not knowing what the day will bring, yet she moves forward. That is faith in its purest form. Not a guarantee that everything will be fine, but a conviction that she will find strength to face whatever comes. Faith doesn't mean the absence of problems, it means the presence of peace despite the problems. And when you have faith, even the smallest light looks enough to keep walking through the darkest tunnel. There's a story I often share. Once a woman was traveling through a dense forest at night. She had only a small lantern in her hand that lit just a few feet ahead. Someone asked her, "Aren't you scared? You can't see the whole path." She smiled and said, "I don't need to see the whole path. I just need to see the next few steps." That's what faith is. Walking even when you can't see the destination. Trusting that step by step, you'll reach where you're meant to be. So many women around us live like this every day, trusting life even when it makes no sense. A young woman moves to a new city for her career, scared but hopeful. A mother sends her child abroad, praying he stays safe. A widow starts again after loss, believing she'll find peace. All of this, it's faith in motion. Faith is not always in grand gestures or miracles. It's in small acts of courage repeated every day. It's in the woman who stands in front of a mirror and says, "I will be okay," even when her world is breaking. It's in the woman who forgives, who starts again, who chooses to love despite being hurt. Fear says, "What if I fall?" Faith whispers, "But what if you fly?" When we look at the lives of women like Malala Yousafzai or Mother Teresa, it's easy to think they were extraordinary from birth. But what made them truly extraordinary was their faith. Malala had faith that education could change the world, and she risked her life for it. Mother Teresa had faith that serving one person at a time could heal humanity. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They believed, and their belief became their power. Even in our own homes, there are quiet heroes of faith. A grandmother who keeps lighting a lamp every evening, even when times are tough. A wife who keeps believing her husband will recover. A girl who studies under a street light because she believes one day her hard work will shine brighter. These are not just acts of endurance, they are acts of faith, invisible but unbreakable. Faith gives a woman the courage to stand when the ground beneath her is shaking. It gives her hope when logic says there's none left. It allows her to see beyond what is happening and trust what will happen. Sometimes faith is just taking one more step. Sometimes it's just breathing one more breath. Sometimes it's smiling through tears because you know this is not the end of your story. And every woman who has walked through fire and still kept her softness knows that faith doesn't remove pain. It transforms it into purpose. You see, when you live with fear, you wait for proof before you believe. But when you live with faith, you believe first and proof follows later. A woman of faith is not afraid of the unknown because she knows she's not walking alone. She may not know what the future holds, but she knows who holds the future. That's what gives her strength to move, even when the road ahead is foggy. If you've ever seen a lotus flower, you know it blooms in muddy water. It doesn't wait for clean water. It rises above the mud and still shines. That's how a woman of faith lives, surrounded by challenges, yet blooming with grace. And maybe that's the lesson for all of us. Don't wait for certainty to move forward. Don't wait for perfect conditions to believe. Just take the next step. Trust the journey, because faith doesn't promise that life will be without storms. It promises that you'll find your way through them. So, if you're going through a tough time, hold on. Keep faith. You may not see it now, but the very storm that's testing you today is preparing you for something greater tomorrow. Faith is not about knowing the road. It's about trusting the destination. And a woman who walks with faith, even through fear, becomes unstoppable. When a woman discovers her why, something magical happens inside her. It's as if her soul catches fire. Suddenly, what used to exhaust her now energizes her. What used to scare her now strengthens her. Because once she knows why she is doing something, no obstacle can hold her back. That is the power of purpose. Purpose is not just about big dreams or grand missions. It's not only for leaders, activists, or entrepreneurs. Purpose is deeply personal. It's the quiet reason that wakes you up every morning, even when life feels heavy. It's that voice in your heart that says, keep going. You are meant for more. A woman with purpose doesn't live by circumstances. She lives by conviction. Her path may be tough, but she walks it with grace because she knows why she is walking it. Think of a mother who sacrifices her sleep, her comfort, even her own dreams for her children. She doesn't do it because it's easy. She does it because her purpose is love. Every meal she cooks, every lesson she teaches, every tear she wipes, it's driven by purpose. And that purpose makes her unstoppable. There's a story of a woman I once met who worked as a janitor in a hospital. She would clean the floors with such care that one day I asked her, "You always look so happy doing this. What keeps you so inspired?" She smiled and said, "Guruji, I don't just clean floors. I make sure that this place is safe for the patients. I help people heal." That's purpose. You see, when you attach meaning to your work, even the simplest task becomes sacred. A woman with purpose doesn't need applause. Her reward is the peace she feels knowing she's contributing something meaningful. She may not have everything figured out, but she walks with faith because she knows why she's moving forward. Let's take another example. Imagine a young girl who dreams of becoming a doctor. Her family struggles financially. She studies under the dim light of a street lamp because there's no electricity at home. Her friends go out, laugh, enjoy life, but she sits with her books determined. When someone asks her why she doesn't give up, she says, "Because one day I'll save lives." That's the power of purpose. It gives you strength when everything else fails. Purpose doesn't just help you survive, it makes you come alive. It gives your pain a reason and your struggles a meaning. A woman with purpose doesn't see difficulties as barriers. She sees them as stepping stones. She understands that every challenge is shaping her into the person she needs to become. Have you ever noticed how women with strong purpose radiate peace? It's because they're not competing with anyone. They don't measure their worth by comparison. They're too focused on their mission. They're not asking, "Why me?" They're asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That mindset turns problems into lessons and suffering into strength. Purpose is the engine of persistence. When life gets tough, and it will, it's purpose that reminds you why you started in the first place. A woman without purpose can have all the resources in the world and still feel lost. But a woman with purpose can start from nothing and still build everything. Think of someone like Kalpana Chawla, the first woman of Indian origin to go to space. She came from a small town, faced countless challenges, but she had one purpose: to touch the stars. And she did. Her journey wasn't just about success. It was about showing the world that dreams have no gender, no limits, no boundaries. But purpose doesn't always have to be cosmic. Sometimes it's as simple as bringing joy to someone else's life. There was a woman who ran a small flower stall near a bus stop. Every day she would smile at people passing by, offer them flowers, and brighten their mornings. When someone asked her why she did it, she said, "Maybe one smile can make someone's day lighter. Maybe one flower can remind them life is still beautiful." That's purpose too. Small, humble, but powerful. You see, when you have purpose, your life gains direction. Without it, you drift. But with it, even storms can knock you down. You may bend, but you don't break. Purpose gives you roots. It reminds you of what truly matters when everything else fades away. And sometimes, finding purpose doesn't happen suddenly. It unfolds over time. A woman might go through heartbreak, loss, or failure, and in that pain, she discovers her calling. Many women who face the hardest moments of their lives have turned those moments into missions. Helping others heal, speak, rise, and dream again. Their wounds became their wisdom. The truth is, you don't need to have a big stage or a loud voice to live with purpose. You just need a heart that cares, a mind that believes, and a will that refuses to quit. Whether you're raising a family, building a business, teaching children, or simply being kind, if you do it with meaning, you are living your purpose. Purpose is what turns routine into rhythm. It's what turns ordinary women into extraordinary souls. When you do what you do with a sense of why, the world notices, not because you shout louder, but because your light shines brighter. So, if you're feeling lost, don't worry. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just start with one question: what truly matters to me? The moment you find your why, you'll find your way. A woman of purpose doesn't chase happiness, she creates it. She doesn't search for success, She serves it. She doesn't run from pain, she transforms it into power. Because when her life aligns with her reason, she becomes unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because her heart gets stronger. And maybe that's the secret of the spirit that never gives up. She's not just living, she's living for something. Her purpose is her prayer, her compass, her power. When you see such a woman, you can feel her energy, calm yet determined, humble yet fierce, soft yet unshakable. You can sense that no matter what happens, she'll rise again. Because a woman with purpose doesn't walk aimlessly, she walks intentionally. She knows where she's going, and she knows why, and that why is the very thing that lights her path when everything else goes dark. Life has a way of testing us in ways we never expect. It doesn't always knock politely on the door. Sometimes it storms in and rearranges everything we thought was certain. But within every storm lies a secret opportunity, the chance to turn pain into power. And if there's anyone who knows how to do that beautifully, it's a woman who refuses to give up. Pain visits everyone. No one is exempt. But what defines us is not the pain we go through, it's what we do with it. Some people let pain harden their hearts, but others, especially women of courage, let it awaken their strength. Pain, when handled with wisdom, becomes the teacher that no school can replace. There's something incredible about a woman who's been through heartbreak, loss, or failure, and still walks with her head held high. You can see it in her eyes. Not arrogance, not pride, but quiet power. The kind of power that only comes from surviving something that could have broken her. Think of a woman who lost everything: her job, her partner, her confidence. And instead of letting bitterness consume her, she rebuilds herself. She starts small, maybe a new skill, a new hobby, a new beginning. Slowly, step by step, she transforms her pain into strength. Her laughter one day will not be the same as before. It will be deeper, more meaningful, because it will carry the echo of survival. I remember a young woman once came to me after a session and said, "Guruji, I've been betrayed by people I trusted the most. I feel like I can never trust again." I looked at her and said, "Don't let what broke you make you bitter. Let it make you better." She didn't understand it then. But a few months later, she started mentoring other girls who had gone through similar pain. She told me later, helping them healed me. That's what happens when you turn your pain into purpose. It stops being a wound and becomes your wisdom. Pain can be the most powerful sculptor of your soul. It shapes you, it molds you, it sharpens your edges and deepens your roots. You learn patience because you have no other choice. You learn empathy because you finally understand how it feels to be hurt. And you learn strength because you realize that no one else can walk your path for you. A woman's relationship with pain is unique. She doesn't just endure it, she transforms it. Look at the journey of motherhood, the physical pain, the emotional exhaustion, the sleepless nights. Yet in that pain, she finds her greatest joy. That's not weakness, that's divine strength. Pain and love coexist in her heart, and she manages both with grace. There's an old saying, when life throws stones, build steps. And truly, that's what strong women do. They take every insult, every rejection, every heartbreak, and use it to climb higher. When the world says, "You can't," She smiles and whispers, "Watch me." One woman I know lost her husband in an accident when she was only 30. With two little children to raise, she was shattered. But instead of surrendering to despair, she took up a small teaching job. Every morning, she'd wake up before sunrise, cook breakfast, pack lunches, and walk miles to school. Years passed. Her children grew, studied, and became successful. When I met her years later, I asked her how she managed all that. She said something I'll never forget. At first, I thought my pain was killing me. But later I realized it was teaching me how to live. Isn't that beautiful? That's what pain does when you face it with courage. It doesn't destroy you, it transforms you. It turns ordinary people into warriors, into women with wisdom and fire in their hearts. The truth is, life will break you at some point. It breaks everyone. But what matters is what you do after the breaking. Some stay shattered forever, while others gather their broken pieces and rebuild something even stronger, something unshakable. Those who rise again after pain don't come back as the same person. They come back wiser, softer, yet infinitely more powerful. Have you ever seen gold being purified? It's heated in intense fire until impurities melt away, leaving it shining brighter than before. That's what pain does to the human spirit. It burns away what's unnecessary, the ego, the fear, the doubts, and reveals the purest version of yourself. Many women carry invisible scars, scars from broken homes, lost dreams, betrayal, or loneliness. They may not talk about them, but those scars are their medals of honor. Each one tells a story of survival, a story of courage, a story of a woman who refused to let her pain define her. Turning pain into power doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means feeling deeply, healing slowly, and rising eventually. It means acknowledging your wounds, but not letting them control your worth. It means using your story to light the path for others who are walking in darkness. When life gives you pain, you have two choices. You can let it paralyze you, or you can let it propel you. A woman who never gives up chooses the second. She uses the very thing that hurt her to fuel her comeback. That's why her strength feels so different. It's born not from comfort, but from chaos. Think of women like Oprah Winfrey, who rose from a childhood of poverty and trauma to become one of the most influential figures in the world. She didn't escape her pain. She embraced it, learned from it, and transformed it into empathy and vision. Her life is proof that pain can be the birthplace of greatness. Every woman who chooses to rise above her pain becomes a living example of resilience. She teaches us that pain doesn't have to make you bitter. It can make you beautiful. Not the kind of beauty seen in mirrors, but the kind that glows from within, the beauty of a soul that has survived the fire and come out shining. So, if you're going through pain right now, don't run from it. Sit with it. Listen to what it's trying to teach you. There's strength hidden in your struggle and power, in your perseverance. Life may have bruised you, but it hasn't broken you. Remember, pain will visit, but suffering is optional. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control what you become because of it. And when you choose to turn your pain into power, you not only heal yourself, you inspire the world. That's the spirit of a woman who never gives up. She doesn't escape pain, she elevates through it. She doesn't hide her scars, she honors them, because she knows that every wound she carries is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the strength it took to survive. Grace, it's such a simple word, yet it holds within it the deepest power a person can possess. Grace is not about wearing a beautiful smile or walking elegantly. It's about how you hold yourself when life tries to break you. It's about how you respond when the world tests your patience, challenges your peace, and questions your strength. True grace is the art of staying calm in chaos, staying kind in conflict, and staying grounded in glory. A woman who walks with grace under pressure is a sight to behold. She may be going through battles no one can see, but she carries herself as if the universe itself stands behind her. You'll see her helping others even when her own heart is heavy. You'll see her forgiving when she could easily seek revenge. You'll see her smiling, not because everything is perfect, but because she chooses to rise above what's imperfect. That is grace. Let's be honest, anyone can be graceful when life is easy, but true grace shines only when the storms come. It's when things go wrong, when people hurt you, when plans fail, when life feels unfair, and yet you respond with calmness instead of chaos, with love instead of anger. That's where grace becomes your greatest power. There's a story about a woman who worked in a busy office. Her boss was rude. Her co-workers often took credit for her efforts, and every day felt like a test of patience. But instead of complaining or quitting, she stayed focused and did her work with sincerity. When people spoke harshly, she stayed silent. When they mocked her, she smiled and carried on. Years later, when a leadership position opened up, everyone was surprised when she got promoted. But her boss said something beautiful. She taught me that silence can be stronger than shouting. That's the power of grace. It doesn't need to fight to win. It wins because it refuses to fight. Grace is not weakness, it's controlled strength. It's having the ability to explode, but choosing not to. It's knowing that dignity is more powerful than dominance. The world often mistakes gentleness for fragility, but in truth, it takes immense courage to stay kind when you have every reason to be cruel. A graceful woman doesn't need to prove her worth through words. Her presence itself is her proof. When she enters a room, she doesn't demand attention, she commands it through her peace. There's a quiet confidence about her, a calm energy that says, I know who I am, and no situation can make me forget that. I once met an elderly woman at an airport who taught me what grace truly looks like. Her flight had been delayed for hours. The passengers were frustrated. Some were shouting. Others were arguing with the staff. But she sat quietly, sipping her tea with a soft smile on her face. I asked her, Aren't you upset? She replied, Of course I am, but being upset won't make the plane come faster. So why lose my peace over what I can control? That's wisdom. That's grace. The ability to stay centered when everything around you is spinning. When you respond to life with grace, you don't just protect your peace, you elevate your spirit. You rise above the noise. You refuse to let others control your emotions. That's how you turn adversity into artistry, by mastering your reactions instead of being mastered by them. Look at nature. Even the trees teach us grace. When the wind blows hard, the strong trees that refuse to bend are the ones that break. But the trees that sway, that flow with the wind, that adapt, they survive. Grace is just that, the ability to bend without breaking. Think of a mother again, how she handles 10 things at once, how she manages her children, her home, her emotions, her dreams, and yet carries herself with such poise. Her world may be spinning in chaos, but she never lets the chaos enter her heart. That's grace in motion, love under pressure, patience in pain, strength in silence. Or consider a woman who has faced betrayal in love. She could easily choose bitterness. She could carry hatred in her heart. But instead, she forgives, not because the other person deserves it, but because she deserves peace. She lets go, not to show weakness, but to free herself from the prison of resentment. That's grace, the ability to heal without hurting, to walk away without wounding. Grace doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you know when to walk away with dignity. It means you choose your battles wisely and fight only those that matter to your soul. A woman with grace doesn't respond to every insult. She knows silence can speak louder than words. She doesn't seek revenge because she knows karma has better timing than she does. People often remember those who shouted the loudest, but they respect those who stayed calmest. Grace leaves a lasting impression. It makes people wonder how you stayed kind when life wasn't kind to you. One of the most powerful women in history, Princess Diana, was known not just for her beauty, but for her grace. No matter how the media treated her, how rumors swirled, how heartbreak found her, she responded with kindness. She didn't fight to prove her worth, she showed it through compassion. That's why decades later, the world still remembers her, not for her title, but for her grace. Grace is not something you are born with, it's something you cultivate. It comes from experience, from pain, from patience. It grows each time you choose peace over panic, forgiveness over fury, faith over fear. And the beautiful thing about grace is that it doesn't just change you, it changes everyone around you. When you stay calm, others begin to calm down too. When you respond with kindness, anger loses its power. When you hold yourself with dignity, even those who tried to pull you down are forced to look up. So, if you're facing pressure right now, if people are testing your limits or life is throwing challenges your way, remember, you don't have to react to everything. Sometimes the most powerful response is stillness. Sometimes the strongest woman in the room is the one who stays peaceful while everyone else is losing control. Grace is the fragrance that remains even when the flower is crushed. It's what makes a woman not just beautiful, but unforgettable. Because anyone can be strong when things are easy. But it takes a woman of rare courage to be graceful when life gets hard. That's the spirit of a woman who never gives up. She doesn't just survive storms. She brings calm to them. She doesn't just endure pressure. She turns it into poise. Because she knows that grace is not about escaping life's challenges, but about meeting them with a heart full of peace and a soul that refuses to lose its light.